Admiral Kethver stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the stars bend around them. The massive ship called Dominion's Fist was the largest warship ever built by the Zephyrian Empire. It was 3 miles long and carried enough weapons to destroy entire planets. Behind it followed 9,899 other ships, each one filled with the best soldiers the galaxy had ever seen. This was the largest war fleet in galactic history. 50 million Zephyrian warriors were traveling through hyperspace toward a small blue planet called Earth. The humans who lived there had no idea what was coming for them. Kethver looked at the holographic display floating in front of him. Showed the target system with a bright yellow star at the center. The third planet from that star was Earth, home to the creatures called humans. The Admiral's 4 eyes studied the intelligence reports one more time. The humans were a young species. They had only discovered space travel a few hundred years ago. Their technology was primitive compared to the mighty Zephyrian Empire. They had no real weapons, no shields worth mentioning, and their ships were slow and clumsy. The reports said they had never fought a real war in space. Pathetic, Kethver said to himself. His second-in-command, Captain Zektar, stood nearby and nodded in agreement. Indeed, Admiral. Our scouts report they have less than 300 ships in their entire fleet. Most of those are cargo vessels and exploration ships. They call themselves the Earth Defense Fleet, but there is nothing to defend with. Kethver's mouth parts clicked together in what humans would recognize as laughter. The Zephyrians had been conquering worlds for over 2,000 years. They had destroyed civilizations that were far more advanced than these humans. Some of those civilizations had millions of ships and weapons that could crack moons in half. Yet the Zephyrians had defeated them all. The humans would be the easiest conquest in Imperial history. How long until we reach the edge of their system? Kethver asked. 6 hours, Admiral. The fleet is maintaining perfect formation. All ships report ready for immediate combat. Kethver walked to the massive window that showed the swirling colors of hyperspace. Soon they would drop back into normal space and begin the attack. The humans would see their fleet and immediately surrender. Most primitive species did that when they saw the true power of the Zephyrian Empire. The Admiral had fought in 47 different campaigns across the galaxy. He had seen the fear in alien eyes when they realized they were about to be conquered. It was always the same. First came disbelief, then terror, then the desperate surrender offers. The humans would follow the same pattern. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from High Command," reported the communications officer. "Put it through." The holographic display changed to show the image of Supreme Commander Vexani. She was the highest military authority in the Zephyrian Empire, and she had personally ordered this invasion. "Admiral Kethver, I trust your fleet is ready for the final approach?" "Yes, Supreme Commander. We will drop out of hyperspace in 6 hours and begin the assault immediately. The humans will surrender within 1 day." "Excellent. Remember, we need this planet intact. The humans have been broadcasting signals into space for decades. Other species have noticed them. We must claim Earth before anyone else decides to take it." "Understood. What are our orders regarding prisoners?" "Take a few thousand for study, eliminate the rest. We need to learn how such a primitive species survived long enough to develop space travel. It should not have been possible." Kethver nodded. The universe was a dangerous place. Most species destroyed themselves with wars or disasters long before they could leave their home planets. The fact that humans had survived this long was unusual, but it did not make them dangerous. "The fleet will carry out your orders perfectly, Supreme Commander." "See that it does. The Emperor is watching this campaign personally. Success here will bring great honor to your name." The transmission ended. Kethver felt a surge of pride. This would be the victory that made him famous throughout the Empire. Future generations would study his tactics at the military academies. Time passed slowly as the fleet continued its journey through hyperspace. Kethver reviewed the battle plans again and again. The strategy was simple because it did not need to be complex. The fleet would drop out of hyperspace at the edge of the human solar system. They would form the traditional attack formation called the Iron Fist. The largest ships would move forward first, while smaller vessels surrounded the target planet. The humans would see this formation and understand that resistance was hopeless. Most species surrendered immediately when they saw 9,000 ships arranged for battle. Those that did not surrender quickly learned why the Zephyrian Empire ruled half the galaxy. "Admiral, we are approaching the drop point," announced the navigation officer. "Excellent. Signal all ships to prepare for normal space transition. I want weapons powered and shields raised the moment we arrive." Across the fleet, millions of soldiers prepared for battle. They checked their weapons and armor. They said prayers to the Zephyrian war gods. They thought about the glory that awaited them after this easy victory. In the command centers of each ship, officers studied their orders. They would surround the human planet and wait for surrender. If the humans were foolish enough to fight, the battle would last only minutes. Human ships were no match for Zephyrian technology. 30 seconds to drop," called the navigation officer. Kethver stood at attention. This was the moment every commander lived for. Soon he would see the terror in human eyes as they realized their fate. He imagined their primitive leaders trying desperately to contact him with surrender offers. 10 seconds. The swirling colors of hyperspace began to fade. The ship's engines changed their tone as they prepared to return to normal space. Drop in 3, 2, 1 mark. Reality snapped back into focus. The Dominion's Fist and all 9,899 ships behind it appeared at the edge of the Sol system in perfect formation. The sight was magnificent and terrifying. Each ship bristled with weapons. Their hulls gleamed with the dark metal that had conquered 1,000 worlds. Kethver looked at the tactical display and smiled. There, just as the intelligence reports had predicted, was the pitiful human defense fleet. He counted the ships carefully. 218 vessels scattered around their planet like lost children. The human ships were tiny compared to Zephyrian warships. The largest human vessel was smaller than a Zephyrian escort ship. Their hulls were made of primitive materials that would not stop even the weakest Zephyrian weapons. They had no real shields, only basic deflector systems designed to stop space debris. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet," reported the communications officer. "Already? They want to surrender before we even move." "How typical." Kethver straightened his uniform. "Put them through. I will accept their surrender personally." The main display showed the image of a human female. She was small and weak-looking, like all humans. Her skin was pale and her hair was an odd yellow color. She wore what appeared to be a military uniform, though it looked more like clothing than real armor. "I am Admiral Sarah Chun of the Earth Defense Fleet," the human said. "You have entered our solar system without permission. State your intentions." Kethver was surprised. The human was not offering surrender, she was making demands. This was unexpected but not concerning. Some primitive species needed to hear the terms before they understood their situation. "I am Admiral Kethver of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. You will surrender your planet immediately. Lower your shields, power down your weapons, and prepare to be boarded. If you comply, some of your people will be allowed to live as slaves. If you resist, we will destroy every human in this system." The human female looked at him for a long moment. Her expression did not change. There was no fear in her eyes, no panic in her voice when she responded. "Admiral Kethver, this is our home. We don't surrender our home to anyone. You have no choice in this matter. Look at your sensors. We have brought nearly 10,000 ships to your system. You have barely 200. Your technology is centuries behind ours. You cannot possibly win this battle." "You're probably right about the numbers," the human admitted. "But you made one mistake in your calculations." "What mistake could we possibly have made?" "Our intelligence is perfect," the human admiral smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile predators made when they found prey. "You assumed we were prey," she said. "We're not." "The transmission ended?" Kethver stared at the empty screen in confusion. The human had just refused surrender terms from the largest fleet in galactic history. It made no sense. No rational being would choose death over slavery when the odds were so hopeless. "Sir, what are your orders?" asked Captain Zektar. Kethver thought for a moment. The humans were clearly insane, but that did not change the situation. He would simply have to destroy them all and take the planet by force. It would mean more work, but the result would be the same. Signal the fleet. Form attack formation. Iron Fist. We will show these humans what happens when primitive species refuse the generous terms of the Zephyrian Empire. Yes, Admiral. All ships acknowledge and are moving into position. Kethver watched his fleet spread out across space. It was a beautiful sight. The smaller ships moved to surround the human planet while the largest warships prepared to advance. Soon, the humans would see this formation and understand their mistake, but as he watched, something strange happened. The human ships did not retreat. They did not cluster around their planet in a defensive formation. Instead, they spread out, in a pattern that made no tactical sense. Some ships moved toward the asteroid belt. Others headed for the gas giant planets. A few actually moved closer to their sun. "What are they doing?" Kethver asked. "Unknown, sir. Their formation serves no defensive purpose. They are dividing their forces and making themselves weaker." Kethver studied the display more carefully. The human behavior was completely irrational. Every military manual in the galaxy said that a smaller force should concentrate its ships to create maximum firepower. By spreading out, the humans were ensuring that the Zephyrian fleet could destroy them one small group at a time? Perhaps. "They are trying to evacuate their planet," suggested Captain Zektar. "They may be loading civilians onto those ships." "Impossible. Our sensors show no large-scale movement on the planet's surface. The humans are staying on their world." "Then what are they planning, sir?" Kethver did not have an answer. In all his years of warfare, he had never seen such strange tactics, but it did not matter. Strange tactics were still bad tactics when the enemy had such overwhelming numerical superiority. Signal the advanced ships, begin the assault. Target the largest human vessels first. Once we destroy their command ships, the rest will surrender. The order went out across the fleet. 300 of the heaviest Zephyrian warships moved forward. Their weapons began charging, creating a glow that could be seen across the solar system. Behind them, thousands of smaller ships waited their turn to join the slaughter. Kethver felt confident again. The humans could spread their ships wherever they wanted. It would not save them. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered species far more clever than these primitives. In a few hours, Earth would belong to the Empire, and Admiral Kethver would be the most famous military commander in the galaxy. Admiral Sarah Chun watched the alien fleet spread across her display screen, 9,900 ships. She had never seen so many enemy vessels in one place. Each ship was larger than anything in the Earth defense fleet. Their weapons glowed with enough power to turn planets into dust. Any normal person would have been terrified. Sarah Chun was not normal. She turned to her communications officer. "Send a message to all ships. Execute Plan Grizzly. Tell them the party is about to start." "Yes, Admiral." All ships acknowledge. They're moving to assigned positions. Sarah walked to the window of her command ship, the carrier Indomitable. Outside, space looked peaceful. The stars shone like tiny diamonds against the black. It was hard to believe that in a few minutes, this quiet place would become a battlefield. Behind her, the bridge crew worked at their stations. They checked weapons, updated targeting systems, and prepared for combat. None of them looked scared. They looked excited. The communications officer spoke up. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the alien flagship. Put it through." The main screen showed an ugly creature with 4 eyes and skin like old leather. It wore fancy clothes and too many medals. Sarah recognized the type immediately. This was a career military officer who had never fought a real battle. "I am Admiral Kethver of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet," the alien said. "You will surrender your planet immediately. Lower your shields, Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. If you comply, some of your people will be allowed to live as slaves. If you resist, we will destroy every human in this system." Sarah almost laughed. The alien was trying to scare her with threats. It obviously did not understand who it was talking to. "Admiral Kethver, this is our home. We don't surrender our home to anyone. You have no choice in this matter. Look at your sensors. We have brought nearly 10,000 ships to your system. You have barely 200. Your technology is centuries behind ours. You cannot possibly win this battle." Sarah smiled. The alien was right about the numbers. It was wrong about everything else. "You're probably right about the numbers," she said. "But you made one mistake in your calculations." "What mistake could we possibly have made? Our intelligence is perfect. You assumed we were prey? We're not." Sarah cut the transmission. Around her, the bridge crew was grinning. They had heard stories about first contact with alien species. They had wondered what humans would say when they met creatures from other worlds. Sarah thought her response was pretty good. "Ma'am, enemy ships are beginning their attack run," reported the tactical officer. "How many? 300 ships in the first wave? Heavy cruisers and battleships. They're targeting our command vessels." "Perfect. Signal Ghost Squadron. Tell them it's time to say hello." Sarah watched her tactical display as 12 human ships broke away from the main fleet. These were not normal ships. They were painted black and carried experimental weapons that officially did not exist. Ghost Squadron had been Sarah's idea, and today would be their first real test. The alien ships moved forward in a perfect formation. They looked impressive and dangerous. Their tactics were textbook perfect. That was their first mistake. "Enemy ships are charging weapons," announced the tactical officer. "Range to target? 2 million kilometers in closing." Sarah nodded. The aliens were being cautious. They would fire at long range to avoid any possible damage to their own ships. It was good tactics against most enemies. Against humans, it was the wrong choice. "Signal all ships. Execute emergency acceleration." Full power to engines. The human fleet suddenly burst into motion. Ships that had been drifting quietly through space roared to life. Their engines blazed with nuclear fire as they accelerated at impossible speeds. The aliens had expected slow, clumsy movements. Instead, human ships moved like angry hornets. "Enemy is firing," called the tactical officer, space filled with alien weapons fire. Beams of energy that could melt mountains reached across the void toward human ships. Most of the shots missed completely. The aliens had calculated their targeting based on normal ship movements. Human ships were not moving normally. The few shots that did hit struck human shields and bounced off harmlessly. The aliens had weapons designed to destroy their own technology. Human shields worked on completely different principles. "Return fire," Sarah ordered. The human ships opened fire with weapons the aliens had never seen before. Instead of energy beams, they used kinetic projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. Chunks of tungsten moving at a significant fraction of light speed punched through alien shields like they were made of paper. The first alien ship to die was a heavy cruiser called Eternal Victory. A human projectile hit it directly in the center and tore it in half. The explosion was so bright it could be seen from Earth. "One down," announced the tactical officer. "Targeting next vessel." Sarah watched the alien formation begin to break apart. Their perfect order turned into chaos as ships tried to avoid human weapons. They had never fought an enemy that used kinetic weapons before. Their shields were designed to stop energy beams, not solid objects moving at incredible speeds. "Ma'am, Ghost Squadron is in position," reported the communications officer. "Tell them to begin Phase 2. 12 black ships suddenly appeared in the middle of the alien formation. They had been invisible to alien sensors, hiding in the shadow of asteroids, and using stealth technology the aliens did not know existed. Now they opened fire at point-blank range. The effect was devastating. Alien ships exploded one after another as human weapons tore through their hulls. The aliens tried to return fire, but the human ships were too fast and too small. They darted between the larger alien vessels like fighters attacking bombers. "Enemy casualties are mounting," reported the tactical officer. "We count 47 alien ships destroyed so far." "Human casualties? None, ma'am." "A few ships have minor damage, but all crews are intact." Sarah nodded. This was going better than expected. The aliens were learning that their intelligence. Reports had been very wrong about human capabilities on his flagship. Admiral Kethver watched his perfect formation fall apart. Human ships were moving in ways that should have been impossible. Their weapons were destroying Zephyrian vessels with single shots. His tactical officers were shouting contradictory reports. "Sir, we have lost 62 ships in the first wave." "How?" "Their weapons are primitive." "Unknown, Admiral?" "Our shields seem to have no effect against their projectiles." Kethver stared at his display screen. The humans were not fighting like a defensive force. They were attacking with the fury of predators. Their ships moved with perfect coordination, like they had been preparing for this battle their entire lives. "Pull back the first wave," he ordered. "Reform at safe distance." "Sir, the humans are pursuing." "They're not letting us withdraw." This was impossible. Defensive forces did not pursue attacking fleets. They stayed near their planet and tried to protect it. But the human ships were chasing his retreating vessels across space, picking them off one by one. "Signal the second wave. Full assault. Destroy every human ship immediately." 2,000 more alien ships joined the battle. They came from every direction, trying to surround the human fleet. But the humans had expected this move. As soon as the alien reinforcements arrived, human ships scattered like leaves in the wind. Some human vessels dove toward the sun, using its gravity to slingshot around at incredible speeds. Others disappeared into the asteroid belt where alien sensors could not track them properly. A few ships actually flew directly through the gas giant's atmosphere, emerging on the other side to attack alien ships from behind. "What kind of madness is this?" Kethver demanded. "No sane pilot would fly through a gas giant." "Sir, humans appear to have no concern for normal safety protocols," reported his tactical officer. "They are using maneuvers that would kill any Zephyrian crew." The battle spread across the entire solar system. Human ships appeared and disappeared like ghosts, striking at alien vessels and vanishing before return fire could reach them. They used the planets and moons as shields, ducking behind them to avoid alien weapons. Sarah watched the battle from her command ship. The aliens were learning that space combat was different when your enemy refused to follow the rules. Human pilots had been trained to use every advantage the solar system could provide. They knew where every asteroid was located, every gravitational anomaly, every place where a ship could hide. "Ma'am, we're receiving damage reports," announced the communications officer. "How bad?" "Not bad at all. We've lost 6 ships total. All crews evacuated safely. Alien losses are now at 237 ships." Sarah smiled. The humans were winning, but this was just the beginning. The aliens had thousands more ships, and they would keep coming. The real test would be whether human forces could maintain this pace. "Signal the reserve squadrons. Tell them to join the party." More human ships entered the battle. These were the heavy units that had been waiting in the outer system. They moved in perfect formation, their weapons already charged and ready. As they approached the alien fleet, they opened fire with everything they had. The space battle became a storm of light and fire. Alien ships exploded in brilliant flashes while human vessels darted between them like deadly shadows. The aliens tried every tactic they knew, but nothing worked against the human forces. Kethver realized he was losing the battle. His ships were being destroyed faster than they could fight back. The humans were using tactics he had never seen before. Weapons his shields could not stop, and maneuvers that should have been impossible. "Sir, recommendation to withdraw and regroup," suggested Captain Zektar. "Withdraw? We have 7,000 ships remaining. How can we withdraw from 200 primitive vessels?" "Sir, they don't fight like primitives. They fight like they've been planning this battle for years." Kethver looked at his tactical display again. The human ships were spread across the solar system in a pattern that made no sense. But somehow they were winning every engagement. His forces were being picked apart piece by piece. Then something happened that changed everything. A damaged human ship, its engines failing and weapons offline, suddenly accelerated directly toward a Zephyrian heavy cruiser. The alien ship tried to move away, but the human vessel was too fast. The ships collided in a massive explosion. Both vessels were destroyed instantly. But over the communication channels, Kethver heard something that chilled him to his core. The human crew was singing as they died. "What kind of species sings while dying in battle?" he whispered. "Unknown, sir." "Should we continue the attack?" Kethver watched as another damaged human ship followed the same pattern. Instead of trying to escape, it rammed directly into an alien vessel. Again, the human crew was heard singing over the radio until the moment of impact. "They're insane," he said. "They actually enjoy dying in battle." The battle continued for several more hours. Human ships fought with a fury that the aliens had never encountered. When their weapons were destroyed, they rammed alien vessels. When their engines failed, they used the last of their power to detonate their reactors near enemy ships. By the end of the first day, the Zephyrian Imperial fleet had lost over 800 ships. The human casualties were minimal by comparison. Admiral Kethver stared at his casualty reports and could not believe what he was seeing. "This is impossible," he said to himself. "How can primitives defeat the finest fleet in the galaxy?" His question would soon be answered, but not in the way he expected. 3 days had passed since the battle began. Admiral Kethver stood in his command center and tried to understand what was happening to his fleet. The tactical displays showed numbers that made no sense. Over 2,000 Zephyrian ships had been destroyed. The human fleet should have been wiped out completely by now. Instead, human ships kept appearing everywhere. They emerged from asteroid belts like hungry wolves. They rose from the gas giant atmospheres like vengeful spirits. Some even came directly out of the sun's corona, their hulls glowing white-hot from the stellar radiation. How are they surviving in those conditions? Kethver demanded from his science officer. "Unknown, Admiral. Our analysis shows that solar radiation should kill any living creature within minutes. The electromagnetic fields around the gas giants should fry their electronics. But human ships operate normally in environments that would destroy our vessels." Kethver studied the latest reports. Human ships had been detected hiding inside the rings of Saturn using ice chunks as camouflage. Others had been found drifting near Jupiter's largest moons, their engines completely shut down to avoid detection. A few had even been spotted skimming the surface of Mercury, so close to the sun that their hulls were literally melting. "They're not just fighting us," he realized. "They're using their entire solar system as a weapon." Captain Zektar approached with a worried expression. "Sir, we have another problem. Our ships are reporting strange transmissions from the human vessels." "What kind of transmissions?" "They appear to be historical records, literature, and something called music. The humans are broadcasting their cultural heritage while they fight." Kethver was confused. Why would they waste communication bandwidth on useless information during battle? "I don't think it's useless, sir. Our analysts have been studying the transmissions. The humans appear to be trying to intimidate us. With their history, that's ridiculous. You should see the reports, Admiral. This species has spent its entire existence fighting wars. They have been killing each other for thousands of years, developing new and better ways to destroy their enemies. Their literature is filled with stories about warfare, conquest, and death." Kethver felt a chill run through his body. "Show me," the main screen filled with translated human text. Kethver read stories about human warriors who fought against impossible odds. He saw poetry written by soldiers dying on battlefields. He found strategic writings by human generals who had conquered entire continents. One quote made him stop reading. "War is the continuation of politics by other means." "They think of war as just another form of communication," he said quietly. "There's more, sir. We found records of their military academies. They have institutions dedicated entirely to teaching warfare. Their best minds spend years studying nothing but combat strategy and tactics. The screen showed images of human soldiers training. They practiced fighting in every possible environment. Desert, jungle, Arctic cold, underwater, and even in space. They had weapons designed for close combat, long-range fighting, and everything in between. "Sir, this is just their recent history," added the science officer. "Our deep scans of their planet show evidence of massive wars dating back thousands of years. Nuclear weapons, chemical warfare, biological agents. They have tried every possible way to destroy each other." Kethfer was beginning to understand why his fleet was losing. The humans were not primitives who had accidentally discovered space. Travel. They were a species that had evolved specifically for warfare. Every generation had been tested in battle, and only the strongest had survived to reproduce. "What about their music?" he asked. "Perhaps you should hear it for yourself, sir." The bridge speakers filled with human battle songs. The melodies were stirring and powerful, designed to inspire courage in combat. But the words were terrifying. They spoke of death and glory, of fighting against hopeless odds, of choosing to die rather than surrender. One song particularly disturbed him. It was called "The Battle Hymn of the Republic," and humans had sung it while marching into battle. For hundreds of years. The words spoke of righteous warfare and divine judgment upon their enemies. "They worship war," Kethfer said. "This entire species worships war. It gets worse, sir. We intercepted transmissions from their planet. Human children play games based on warfare. Their entertainment consists of stories about fighting and conquest. Even their sports are based on combat simulations." Kethfer sat down heavily. He was beginning to realize that the Zephyrian Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had not invaded a peaceful planet of primitive farmers. They had attacked a world of natural-born killers. The communications officer interrupted his thoughts. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Fleet Group 7. Put it through." The screen showed Captain Vexenor, commander of a patrol group that had been hunting human ships near the asteroid belt. His face was pale with fear. "Admiral, we need immediate reinforcements. The humans have set traps throughout the asteroid field. We've lost 40 ships in the last hour." "What kind of traps?" "They've hidden weapons platforms inside hollow asteroids. When we approach, the rocks split open and attack us. They've also mined the entire area with explosive devices that look exactly like space debris." Kethfer rubbed his temples. "How many human ships are you fighting?" "That's the problem, sir. We can't tell. They appear and disappear constantly. Our sensors detect them for a few seconds, then lose the signal. They're using the asteroid field like a maze, and they know every passage. Fall back to safe distance and wait for support." "Sir, we tried to retreat. The humans followed us. They're hunting us across open space now. Some of our ships have been destroyed by weapons fire coming from empty space. We think they have invisible ships." The transmission ended with the sound of explosions and alarms. Kethfer stared at the blank screen and felt something he had never experienced before in his military career. Fear. "Sir, incoming report from Fleet Group 3, announced another. "Officer, what now?" "They were patrolling near the gas giant called Jupiter. They report that human ships emerged from the planet's atmosphere and attacked them. The humans used the planet's gravity to accelerate their weapons to incredible speeds. Casualties? 73 ships destroyed, Admiral. The humans lost none." Kethfer looked at his tactical display. Red marks showed where Zephyrian ships had been destroyed. They were scattered across the entire solar system. The humans were not defending their planet in one large battle. They were fighting 100 small battles simultaneously, using every moon, asteroid, and planet as a strategic advantage. "Sir, we have another transmission coming in. This one is from the human admiral. Put her through." The screen showed Admiral Sarah Chun again. She looked tired but confident. Behind her, Kethfer could see human officers working at their stations with calm efficiency. "Admiral Kethfer, I thought you might want to discuss terms." "Terms? You're the ones who should be surrendering." Look at your casualty reports. In 3 days, you've lost over 2,000 ships. How many can you afford to lose? Kethver was furious. We still outnumber you 7-1. For now. But every day, those numbers get worse for you. We know this solar system better than you ever will. Every asteroid, every gravitational field, every radiation zone. You're fighting us in our home, and we've had centuries to prepare. Prepare for what? You didn't even know we existed until 3 days ago. Sarah smiled that predator smile again. We didn't know you existed specifically. But we knew somebody would come eventually. Humans have been preparing for interstellar war since we first looked at the stars. That's impossible. Really? Think about it. A species discovers radio waves and immediately starts broadcasting signals into space, announcing their location to anyone listening. Does that sound like the behavior of a peaceful race? Kethver had never thought about it that way. Most species tried to hide from potential enemies. Humans had been deliberately attracting attention for over a century. We wanted you to come. Sarah continued. We wanted to see what kind of enemies the galaxy would send us. Thank you for the demonstration. Your tactics are very educational. Educational? We're learning how alien military forces operate. Your formation flying, your weapon systems, your command structure, all very interesting. We'll use this information. When we visit your homeworlds, the transmission ended. Kethver stared at the empty screen in shock. The human had just threatened to attack Zephyrian space. It was insane. The humans had only a few hundred ships. The Zephyrian Empire controlled thousands of worlds and had millions of vessels. But then he remembered something that chilled him. The human admiral had not said, if we visit your homeworlds. She had said, when we visit your homeworlds. Sir, urgent message from High Command, announced the communications officer. Put it through. Supreme Commander Vexani appeared on the screen. She looked angry and impatient. Admiral Kethver, I'm seeing reports of heavy casualties. What is your situation? Supreme Commander, the humans are more dangerous than our intelligence indicated. They fight like no species we have ever encountered. Explain. They use their entire solar system as a battlefield. They hide ships in impossible locations and attack from directions we don't expect. They have weapons our shields cannot stop. Their tactics are completely unpredictable. Are you telling me that a primitive species is defeating the Imperial fleet? Kethver hesitated. The truth would end his career, but lying would make things worse. Yes, Supreme Commander. We are losing this battle. That is unacceptable. I'm sending reinforcements. 5,000 additional ships will arrive in 2 days. I don't think more ships will solve this problem. The humans are primitives with obsolete technology. If you cannot defeat them with 10,000 ships, you will defeat them with 15,000. That is an order. The transmission ended? Kethver knew that Supreme Commander Vexani did not understand the situation. She had never fought the humans. She had never seen their terrifying joy in battle or their willingness to die for victory. Sir, what are your orders? Asked Captain Zektar. Kethver looked at his tactical display one more time. Human ships were scattered across the solar system like deadly spiders waiting in their webs. They had turned space itself into their ally. Signal all ships. Defensive formation. We wait for reinforcements. Sir, the humans may not let us wait. They've been attacking constantly. Then we'll have to survive until help arrives. And pray to the war gods that these humans don't have any more surprises for us. But Kethver was wrong about the surprises. The humans had many more secrets. And they were just beginning to show what they could really do when they stopped playing games and started fighting seriously. Admiral Kethver had not slept in 4 days. The reinforcements from High Command had arrived as promised, bringing his fleet strength back to over 30,000 ships. It should have been enough to crush any resistance. Instead, his casualties kept climbing. The humans had somehow become stronger. Their attacks were more coordinated, their weapons more deadly, and their tactics more unpredictable than ever. What had started as an easy conquest had become a nightmare that grew worse with each passing hour. Sir, we've lost another patrol. Group near Mars, reported Captain Zektar. 15 ships destroyed in less than 10 minutes. How many human ships attacked them? 3, sir. Just 3 ships destroyed an entire patrol group. Kethver closed his 4 eyes and tried to think clearly. The mathematics made no sense. Individual human ships were destroying Zephyrian vessels at a rate of 5 to 1 or better. No species in galactic history had ever achieved such combat efficiency. What's the total casualty count? We have lost 4,200 ships since the battle began. Human losses are estimated at less than 50 vessels. The numbers were impossible, but they were accurate. Kethver had checked them himself multiple times. His mighty invasion fleet was being destroyed by a force that should have surrendered on the first day. Sir, incoming transmission from Fleet Group Delta, announced the communications officer. Put it through. The screen showed Commander Zefek, whose ships had been patrolling the outer system. His face showed the same exhaustion and fear that Kethver felt. Admiral, we have a serious problem. The humans have started using planet-killer weapons. Kethver felt his blood turn cold. Planet killers? That's impossible. Their technology is not advanced enough? Sir, you need to see this recording. The screen showed space near Neptune, where a group of Zephyrian ships had been hunting human vessels. Suddenly, a massive projectile appeared from behind the planet. It was moving at incredible speed, accelerated by what appeared to be a magnetic launcher built into Neptune's moon system. The projectile struck a Zephyrian heavy cruiser and went completely through it. The ship split in half and exploded. But the projectile continued moving, hitting 2 more ships before finally dissipating its energy. They turned an entire moon into a weapons platform, Commander Zathek said. We didn't even know it was there until it fired. How many of these installations do they have? Unknown, sir. We're detecting unusual energy readings from several moons throughout the system. They may have weaponized their entire satellite network. Kethver felt despair creeping into his mind. The humans had not just prepared for this battle. They had spent decades, maybe centuries, turning their entire solar system into a fortress. Every moon was a potential weapons platform. Every asteroid could hide a bomb. Every planet could launch projectiles at incredible speeds. Sir, we're receiving a priority transmission from High Command, announced the communications officer. Not now, I need to. Sir, it's Supreme Commander Vexani. She's marked it as urgent. Kethver sighed. Put her through. The Supreme Commander appeared on the screen. She looked angry, which was her normal expression. But there was something else in her eyes. Concern. Admiral Kethver, I'm receiving reports that border on the impossible. Are you really telling me that you've lost over 4,000 ships to a primitive species? Supreme Commander, with respect, these humans are not primitive. They may be the most dangerous military force the galaxy has ever produced. That's ridiculous. They barely have 200 ships. That's what we thought initially. But we were wrong about everything. They don't fight like other species. They don't even think like other species. Explain. Kethver gestured to his tactical display. They've turned their entire solar system into a weapon. They use gravity wells to accelerate. Projectiles. They hide ships in stellar radiation that would kill our crews. They attack from directions that should be impossible. And you cannot adapt to their tactics? Supreme Commander, they don't use tactics in any sense we understand. They fight like they're individually insane but collectively brilliant. Every human ship operates independently, but somehow they coordinate perfectly. I'm sending Admiral Vorthen with an additional fleet. 10,000 more ships should be sufficient. No, Kethver said quickly. Supreme Commander, more ships will not solve this problem. The humans seem to get stronger as the battle continues. Sending more vessels will just give them more targets. Are you suggesting we retreat from a primitive world? I'm suggesting we reconsider our entire approach. These humans are not primitives. They may be more advanced than we are in the one area that matters most, warfare. Supreme Commander Vexani was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was deadly calm. Admiral Kethver, you will continue this assault until the human resistance is completely eliminated. If you cannot accomplish this mission, I will find someone who can." And the transmission ended. Kethver knew his career was over whether he won or lost this battle. But his career was the least of his problems. "Now, sir, we're detecting massive energy buildup from the direction of Earth," reported the tactical officer. "Show me." The main screen focused on the blue planet that had been their original target. Something enormous was rising from the planet's surface. At first, Kethver thought it was a space station. Then he realized it was actually a ship. The largest ship he had ever seen. "How big is that vessel?" he asked. "Scanning now, sir." "Length approximately 15 kilometers. Mass readings are off the scale. 15 kilometers? That's larger than our biggest dreadnoughts." "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the massive ship. Put it through." The screen showed Admiral Sarah Chun again, but she was no longer on the small command ship where they had first met. She was now standing on the bridge of the enormous vessel, surrounded by tactical displays that showed the entire solar system. "Admiral Kethver, I thought you should meet the EDS Retribution. She's the flagship of Sector Fleet 7. Sector Fleet 7? Did you think the ships you've been fighting were our entire space force? This is just the Home Defense Squadron. We have 12 sector fleets operating across human space." Kethver felt the universe shift around him. "Human space? You told US this was your only world. I never said that. You assumed it. Earth is our capital world, but humans have been expanding across the galaxy for over a century. We have colonies in 47 star systems. That's impossible. Our scouts would have detected human presence. Your scouts detected what we wanted them to detect. We've been watching you for months, Admiral. We knew you were coming long before you arrived." The tactical display updated to show new contacts. Hundreds of them. Ships were appearing throughout the outer system, emerging from hiding places that should not have been able to conceal anything. "These are reinforcements from our nearest colonies," Sarah explained. "They've been waiting just outside the system for my signal." Kethver watched his tactical screen fill with new enemy contacts. The humans had not been defending with their full strength. They had been testing the Zephyrian fleet, learning their capabilities, while keeping their real military power hidden. "How many ships do you have?" he asked quietly. "In this system?" "About 800 combat vessels. In human space overall?" "Several thousand." "Several thousand ships for 47 colonies? That's impossible. No species can support that kind of military expansion. Most species can't. But most species don't spend their entire evolutionary history fighting wars. We're very good at building warships, Admiral. It's practically our favorite hobby." Kethver realized he had made the greatest military blunder in galactic history. The Zephyrian Empire had not invaded a primitive world. They had attacked the home system of an aggressive, expanding military power that had been preparing for exactly this kind of conflict. "What do you want?" he asked. "Primarily? For you to leave our space and never return, but we also want information." "Information about what?" "Your empire, your military capabilities, your homeworlds, the locations of your colonies and military bases, everything. I cannot provide military intelligence to an enemy force. Then you'll die here, all of you." As if to demonstrate her point, the massive ship called Retribution opened fire. Its weapons were unlike anything Kethver had ever seen. Beams of pure energy reached across millions of kilometers and struck 3 Zephyrian ships simultaneously. All 3 vessels simply vanished, converted to plasma in milliseconds. "That was a demonstration," Sarah said calmly. "The next shots will target your command ships." Kethver looked at his tactical display. He was surrounded by human ships that had appeared from nowhere. His fleet was outnumbered, outgunned, and completely outmaneuvered. Worse, he was beginning to understand that this was not even the humans' full military strength. "Sir, we're receiving surrender requests from several of our ship commanders," reported Captain Zektar quietly. "Denied, the Imperial fleet does. Not surrender. Sir, with respect, we may not have a choice. Our casualties are approaching 60%. Kethver knew his second-in-command was right. But he also knew that Supreme Commander Vexani would execute him if he surrendered. The Zephyrian Empire had never lost a major battle. The concept of defeat was literally unthinkable to the High Command. "Admiral," Sarachun said from the screen, "I'm going to make this very simple. You have 1 hour to begin withdrawing from our system. Any ships that remain after that time will be destroyed. And if we provide the intelligence you requested, then you'll be allowed to leave with enough ships to carry the message back to your empire. Choose wisely." The transmission ended. Kethver stared at the blank screen and tried to process what had just happened. A primitive species had just offered him surrender terms. They were treating the mighty Zephyrian Imperial fleet like a minor annoyance to be brushed aside. The worst part was that they were right. The humans had demonstrated that they could destroy his entire fleet whenever they chose. They were only offering him a chance to retreat because they wanted him to carry a message back to the Empire. "Sir, what are your orders?" asked Captain Zektar. Kethver looked at his tactical display. "One more time." Red icons marked the locations of destroyed Zephyrian ships. There were thousands of them scattered across the solar system. Green icons showed human ships appearing in formations that should have been impossible. He was looking at the end of Zephyrian military supremacy in the galaxy. These humans were not just dangerous. They were apex predators who had been hiding their true nature until someone was foolish enough to threaten them. "Signal all ships," he said quietly. "Prepare for withdrawal from the system." "Sir, we're leaving, Captain. And we're taking a message back to High Command that will change everything." 3 months later, Admiral Kethver stood before the Supreme Military Council of the Zephyrian Empire. His left arm was gone, lost when human weapons tore through his flagship's command deck. Scars covered half of his face where burning metal had struck him during the retreat, but his physical wounds were nothing compared to the damage done to his reputation and his sanity. He was the first Zephyrian admiral in history to retreat from a battle. He was also the only surviving senior officer from the largest military disaster the Empire had ever experienced. "Admiral Kethver," said Supreme Commander Vexani, "you will explain to this council how you managed to lose 9,882 ships to a primitive species." Kethver looked around the council chamber. 12 of the Empire's highest military leaders sat in judgment of him. Their faces showed anger, disgust, and disbelief. None of them had fought the humans. None of them understood what had really happened in the Sol system. "Honorable commanders," he began, "everything we believed about the human species was wrong. They are not primitive. They are not peaceful. They are the most dangerous military force the galaxy has ever produced." "Ridiculous," snapped General Borthan. "No species can develop advanced military technology in only a few centuries. The humans did not develop their military technology recently. They have been perfecting warfare for thousands of years. Every generation of their species has been tested in battle. Only the strongest, the most cunning, the most violent have survived to reproduce." Supreme Commander Vexani leaned forward. "You're saying they evolved specifically for combat?" "Yes, Supreme Commander, but it is worse than that. They enjoy combat. They celebrate it. Their entire culture is built around the concept of warfare." Kethver activated the holographic display in the center of the chamber. Images appeared showing human ships in battle, moving with impossible grace and deadly precision. "Watch how they fight," he said. "They do not try to minimize casualties. They do not retreat when damaged. They attack with the fury of predators who have found prey." The display showed a human ship with its engines destroyed and weapons offline. Instead of surrendering, the ship accelerated toward a Zephyrian cruiser and rammed it at full speed. Both vessels exploded in a brilliant flash. "They prefer to die fighting rather than live in defeat," Kethver continued. "This is not normal behavior for any rational species." "Perhaps they were desperate," suggested General Zeximuth. "Cornered animals often fight more fiercely." "No, General. They were not cornered. They had many opportunities to retreat or surrender. They chose to fight because fighting is what they do, it is what they are. The holographic display changed to show recordings of human communications during the battle. The council members listened to human voices singing battle songs as their ships exploded. They heard human commanders joking and laughing while coordinating attacks that killed thousands of Zephyrian soldiers. "Listen to them," Kethver said. "They are enjoying the battle. They are having fun while they destroy our fleet." Supreme Commander Vexani was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was carefully controlled. "Admiral, you claim that this species has advanced military technology. Our intelligence reports indicated their ships were primitive and poorly armed. Our intelligence was deliberately deceived. The humans allowed us to see only what they wanted us to see. They have been monitoring our activities for months, possibly years. They knew we were coming long before we arrived." "How is that possible?" "They have colonies throughout this sector of the galaxy. We discovered that Earth is not their only world, but their capital. They control 47 star systems and have been expanding for over a century." The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. Several commanders spoke at once, demanding explanations and clarification. Supreme Commander Vexani called for silence. "You are telling us that an unknown species has been building an interstellar empire without our knowledge?" "Yes, Supreme Commander. And their empire is specifically designed for warfare. Every colony exists to support their military expansion. Every ship is built for combat. Every citizen is trained for battle." General Vorthan stood up angrily. "This is impossible. Our scouts survey every system in this region. We would have detected such an empire. The humans use stealth technology we do not understand. Their ships can become invisible to our sensors. They can hide entire fleets in places we would never think to look." Kethver changed the display to show sensor records from the battle. Zephyrian ships had detected empty space, but human vessels had suddenly appeared and attacked from those supposedly vacant areas. "They were there all along," he explained. "We simply could not see them." "What about their weapons?" asked General Mechstar. "Our shields should have stopped any primitive energy beams. They do not use energy weapons like we do. They use kinetic projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. Our shields are designed to stop energy, not solid matter moving at significant fractions of light speed." The display showed human weapons in action. Chunks of metal moving so fast they were barely visible struck Zephyrian ships and tore through them like they were made of paper. "It gets worse," Kethver continued. "They have weaponized their entire solar system. Every moon, every asteroid, every planet can be used as a weapons platform. They turned space itself into their ally." "How many ships do they have?" Supreme Commander Vexani asked quietly. "In the Sol system, approximately 800 combat vessels. Throughout their empire, several thousand at minimum." "Several thousand ships? That rivals our own fleet strength?" "Yes, Supreme Commander. But their ships are individually superior to ours. Each human vessel can destroy multiple Zephyrian ships before being destroyed itself." The council chamber fell silent. The implications were staggering. The Zephyrian Empire had discovered a rival military power that might be stronger than their own forces. "What are your recommendations, Admiral?" asked Supreme Commander Vexani. Kethver straightened to attention despite his injuries. "Immediate reclassification of humans from primitive species to apex predator. Cessation of all hostile activities toward human space. Recommendation for non-aggression treaty with strongest possible terms. You want us to negotiate with them as equals?" "No, Supreme Commander. I want us to negotiate with them as our superiors. They defeated the largest fleet in galactic history using only a fraction of their military strength. They are not our equals. They are betters in the only area that truly matters, warfare." General Vorthan slammed his fist on the table. "This is cowardice. The Zephyrian Empire does not bow to primitive aliens." "General," Kethver said quietly, I watched human ships fly through solar radiation that should have killed their crews instantly. I saw them hide inside gas giant atmospheres and emerge unharmed. I witnessed them use gravity wells to accelerate weapons to impossible speeds. He paused and looked directly at General Vorthan. They are not primitive, General. We are. Compared to their understanding of warfare, we are children playing with toys. What message did they send to our empire? Asked Supreme Commander Vexani. Kethver activated a recording device. Admiral Sarachun's voice filled the council chamber, speaking in perfect Zephyrian language. To the leaders of the Zephyrian Empire, the recording began. We have allowed 18 of your ships to return home so that you can understand your situation clearly. Your invasion fleet has been destroyed. Your military tactics have been analyzed and found inadequate. Your technology has been studied and catalogued. The human admiral's voice was calm and professional, but there was an undertone that made every council member uncomfortable. We are not interested in conquering your empire, the recording continued. We have better things to do with our time. However, any further aggressive actions toward human space will result in consequences you cannot imagine. We know the locations of your major worlds. We have studied your military installations. We understand your command structure. If you force us to visit your home systems, we will not come as invaders. We will come as exterminators, the recording ended. The council chamber was completely silent for several minutes. They threatened to exterminate our entire empire, General Mextar said quietly. No, Kethver corrected. They made a promise. Humans do not make empty threats. If they say they will do something, they will do it. Supreme Commander Vexani stood up slowly. Admiral Kethver, you are hereby relieved of command and assigned to the Intelligence Division. Your new mission is to study everything we know about human capabilities and prepare defensive strategies. Yes, Supreme Commander. General Vorthan, you will cancel all planned military operations in Sector 7. No Zephyrian ships will approach human space without specific authorization from this council. Supreme Commander, surely we are not going to. General, we are going to survive. This empire has existed for 2,000 years by knowing when to fight and when to negotiate. The humans have demonstrated that fighting them is suicide. Kethver gathered his reports and prepared to leave the council chamber. As he reached the door, Supreme Commander Vexani called out to him. Admiral, one final question. In your professional opinion, what would happen if we sent our entire fleet against human space? Kethver turned back to face the council. His scarred face showed no emotion as he answered. We would lose, Supreme Commander, all of us. The humans would hunt down every ship, every world, every last Zephyrian in the galaxy. They would not stop until our species was extinct. How can you be certain? Because that is what we would do to them if we had their capabilities. The humans understand this. They know that in warfare there are only two outcomes, total victory or total destruction. They have chosen to be the ones who achieve total victory. 3 weeks later, news of the disaster reached every corner of Zephyrian space. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Some worlds began sending tribute to human space, hoping to avoid attack. Others started evacuating their populations to more distant systems. But the most surprising response came from the Kethmori Republic, a small but aggressive empire that had been at war with the Zephyrians for decades. They sent an ambassador to human space with a simple message: please teach us to fight like you do. The humans' response was broadcasted across the galaxy. Thank you for the training exercise. Please send more ships next time. It ended too quickly. Within 6 months, the balance of power in the galaxy had completely shifted. Species that had never heard of humans were suddenly afraid of them. Military academies across the galaxy began studying human tactics. Some alien civilizations even started adopting human cultural practices, believing that warfare-focused societies were more likely to survive. Admiral Kethver spent his remaining years writing reports about human capabilities. His final document, titled The Apex Predator Species, A Study in Perfect Warfare, became required reading at every military academy in known space. The report's conclusion was simple. Humans do not fight wars, they are war. Every human is a weapon. Every human ship is a hunter. Every human world is a fortress. They have weaponized their entire civilization, and they did it so naturally that they do not even realize how terrifying they are. The galaxy now has a new apex predator species. The only question is whether the rest of us will learn to coexist with them, or whether we will join the thousands of Zephyrian ships that learn too late what happens when prey tries to hunt the hunter. The 18 surviving Zephyrian ships became a symbol throughout the galaxy. They were called the Witnesses by some species and the Lucky Ones by others. Their crews were interviewed countless times, and their stories spread fear and respect for human military power across the stars. And in human space, Admiral Sarah Chun read the intelligence reports about galactic reactions to their victory. She smiled as she composed a message to the Human Defense Council. Mission accomplished. First contact protocol successful. The galaxy now understands our position. Recommend continuing expansion as planned. Next target, Sector 9. Intelligence suggests 3 civilizations there need to learn about human diplomatic methods. The humans had not been invaded. They had